me shout of praise.
You think this is about you? Oh, this is about Yeshua HaMashiach. This is Love Life Ruach Remnant Reality Radio. I'm Rev Rock and I'm a Yahweh for Yahweh bringing it to you.
Muted.
You never said you're sorry about a lot of these things. And that's like AA stuff. I mean, step 9, make direct amends to such people that you have harmed. You know, you're supposed to make amends. You're supposed to say you're sorry. But guess what? That's totally scriptural. You're supposed to apologize, and then you're supposed to ask for that person's forgiveness. And I'm going to tell you, I've already forgiven you. I don't have 100 resentments or 100 things, but I am well aware. I put it under the blood. I've given it to Yeshua, but I am well aware you never did it. I don't hold it against you, obviously. You still got the microphone. You still have the ability to speak into this body and participate with this body, but you don't look at it. I don't think you look at it as a privilege. This is a privilege. You're in a royal Cohen now. You're not in some fly-by-night Christian, religious, Catholic, Lutheran, Protestant, Pentecostal, Baptist mixture of sun god Baal worship here. That's not what you're a part of anymore. That was your old crap. This is a new thing that he's supposed to be doing in you, and I don't think that you've really gotten that yet. I think you were confronted early on a year ago. You got to stop living in the old wineskin. You got to get rid of the old wineskin and come into the new wineskin. These were words of knowledge that Yasser spoke over you. Sands talked to you about this. I talked to you about this. It's not changed yet. It's you've made progress. You've definitely made progress. You're a better teacher a year later after me getting on your butt about focusing on being a better teacher. You have grown, and I want to tell you respectfully, I appreciate your efforts of trying to get better. Don't get me wrong. And I know you went through a hard time. You lost your husband, and you're lonely, and you're trying to deal with your codependency. And I appreciate that. I know you're trying to work on the codependency. But there's a lot of things that are like the big horn sticking out of your head that everybody can see except for you. So you're going to need to get honest with yourself and quit playing this game that this is, that the instructions or the Torah are suggestions. They're not suggestions. I am going to hold everybody accountable that's a part of this ministry leadership team. I'm going to hold you accountable to it. And even those that aren't leaders yet, I'm still going to, in a loving way, be nudging them to get more committed and more committed and more committed along the way. Because it's not going to happen miraculously overnight that all of a sudden you're perfectly walking on water. None of us have. But you are all of our elder. You are the oldest. And I want you to start acting like it. This little girl act that you got, you've used it too long to get away with crap. And it's a naughtiness. It's an evil spirit of rebellion that is just unacceptable. And I'm not going to accept it any longer. I'm rejecting it today. All right, you have 3 minutes. I'm looking at the clock right now. It's 7:57 here. You have till 8 o'clock.
I don't need 3 minutes. I just need to say I can't respond in words. I have to do the meditation on it. And I have no desire to go against anything that's of Yah. But when I feel resistance in my in my gut is how I'll say it. I need
feelings, nothing more than feelings, trying to forget my feelings. I have preached on feelings for 10 years. It's not a feeling. Obedience, you know what? It's going to be uncomfortable as hell to crucify your freaking flesh. You're going to need to kill some stuff here. You don't want to do the uncomfortable. You want to do the comfortable. You want to do the easy way. It's not going to be easy to serve this kingdom. It wasn't for Yeshua. He got killed. It wasn't for Kepha or Peter. He got killed. It wasn't for Shaul. He got killed. They all got killed for this belief. Why do you think it's going to be comfortable? Oh, my God. Oh, I feel something in my gut. Knock it off. You got to grow up, man. You got to grow up, man.
Okay. So, you know.
It's an excuse. What you're doing right now is the reason that you're in the problem that you're in is because this thing that you do with yourself, you talk yourself right out of walking uprightly before your king. You allow yourself to stay in poverty. And I'm not just talking poverty in your bank account. I'm talking about your nefesh. You should be so wealthy in your nefesh, but you're not because of your own thinking. You think this is about feelings. It's not. Mind, will, and emotions. Notice, emotions is the end of that list. If you don't get the mind of Messiah, if you don't get the mind right, if you don't get his will and what his will is right, you have confused emotion for the Ruach. You think that the Ruach is emotion. It's not a feeling. The Ruach is going to be a driving force that's going to get you to be obedient. He's going to force you to be obedient. Not to sit and negotiate and think that it's a spiritual thing. Nothing that I said was non-scriptural. Nothing. You are under the authority of an overseer, a shaliach. Do you think Paul accepted people to do the kind of stuff that you're doing? No, that's why he wrote the letters that he wrote, rebuking them and correcting them. And what did he tell them when they were doing all their different stuff? Shall not enter the kingdom of Shamayim. Shall not enter the kingdom of Shamayim. So you think I'm being blunt? I'm not telling you you're not going to Shamayim. I'm actually being pretty kind compared to that. But that's what he did. He put a whole paragraph together of all the people, hey, if you act like this, you ain't making it. If you act like that, you're not making it. Oh, no, you're out. He told them right out. Why? Because he had the Torah memorized, and he looked at all their behaviors, and like, these people they're not getting the Torah. They don't get it. So you had 3 minutes. You couldn't get through the first minute without responding correctly. I'm sorry to have to correct you again on your correction. But it's not feelings, Yami. It's not a gut feeling. So why don't you do this for the Congregation of Love today? Why don't you tell us why you lied to me and said you would go to Sheboygan every week, which you don't want to call a lie because you don't want to say that. But guess what? If you're saying you weren't lying that day, then you're saying I'm lying today. And I'm not lying. I looked you right in the eye. I saw the excitement, the energy. I saw you fill out the form to join the 1907 Club and pay the $7 a month. I saw you try to convince your brother that you needed to do that, or that he needed to do that, and you go through that whole codependent thing that you got where, well, Jim doesn't want to go, so I can't go, or Jim doesn't want to do this, so I can't do this, and it's like, no. Number one, you're the big sister. Number two, you got a whole lot more Ruach going on than he does. So quit being attached at the hip. And if it's a financial dependency that you're wanting to be attached to your little brother because you want in on his check that he's getting as a military veteran, then that's sick too. So you're going to need to snap out of it. I'm trying to help you to make money so you're not dependent on your brother, so you're not dependent on the government, so you're not dependent on your daughter for a place to live. You have the abilities within you if you want to exercise them. But if you want to sit and talk behind my back and say that, after I tell you flat out, I'm not trying to teach you to be a salesperson. I'm trying to teach you how to share great things with people the right way. But you go around and you tell everybody the same thing over and over. You got your same talking points, and you rebel against my knowledge of what I do as a profession as if I don't know what I'm doing as a profession. I know the difference between a high-pressure salesperson. I've had those jobs, and I was really good at them. But I had to learn the art of the soft sell from Zig Ziglar, and then even go beyond that to the meet, greet, and inform of a David Rutz. He says, we don't sell. We meet, we greet, and we inform. That's it. Don't sit and try to talk them into anything. Drop off some information. That's all you're doing is drop off some information. Drop off some information. Share some information that's going to benefit their life. You're helping business owners succeed. So quit giving me your talking points. They do not count. You're not a pro in this area. I am. So there's a lot of things. Like I said, there's a list of over 100 things I could come up with of all the ways that I've seen you rebel against my leadership and do it real sneaky, real evil, rebelliously behind my back. Now, if you would have had an issue with what I said and you would have called me and talked to me, face to face, that would have been proper. It's the improper way that it's been handled. That's the issue that we're dealing with today.
I don't know what to say other than I did say the words to you, I'm sorry, but evidently they weren't real enough to you because you didn't hear them.
A few times along the way you have said you're sorry, but you know what? When a child says that he's sorry to the mom and dad for what he did, because he got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, and then the mom and dad walk out of the room and he runs back to the cookie jar and grabs another cookie, did you really apologize?
Of course not. You didn't.
Well, that's what you do to me. That's what you do to me.
But it didn't.
You say you're sorry with words, but not with actions. That's the point.
Okay, well, I apologize for that because I know that my heart is towards Yahweh. I know.
No, that's not a heart towards Yahweh. I'm sorry. Don't give us that bologna sandwich. I'm not eating it. That is a heart towards Satan. That is a deceptive heart. That is a satanic behavior. Do not blame it on Yahweh. I am so sick of you using him as your alibi. Yes, you have this act like you're so spiritual, like you're so filled with the Ruach. Well, the Ruach says. Don't tell me the Ruach says something when the Ruach didn't say it. He would never say that because it would. No, he will not tell you something. He's not
That's
going to
all,
tell you
but
something different than what the Word says, and what you're doing is
Right.
not scriptural. So that means he did not tell you to do that, because he would never tell you that. You're hearing from a different voice, and I'm sorry to tell you, it's not Yah, it's Hasatan. You have, the very elect, you have been deceived. Sorry to tell you. You've been deceived. Now, I'm not telling you you're possessed, but I believe sometimes the oppression is quite heavy, and it's coming at you strong, and you don't know how to deal with it because you've been negotiating for so long with that voice in your head that you actually think that that voice in your head is always Yah, and you can't differentiate when it's an evil spirit. And that's a scary place to be. I got to tell you, that's why it says even the very elect will be deceived. Because in their mind, their religion is just fine. Their beliefs are just fine. What they're doing is just fine. Right, because Hasatan has deceived them. I mean, do you think when you're given 12 minutes and you're given a book that you're supposed to be reading from that has 1,100 scriptures that you're supposed to be going through on this line, and then you go ahead and go freestyle into some testimony that didn't even make sense to me, do you think that's at all being obedient? How do you minimize, rationalize, or justify that in your mind? I just don't get it.
Okay, how I justified that is you said to me that you wanted just to use that as a way for me to focus. And I read ahead of time what I'm going to, what the reading is. I'll read a while until I feel stop beforehand, and then I pray, and what comes in my mind. I'm thinking.
Sometimes
you said to me to use that just as stay on the topic, basically.
Sometimes
like
you get
today, what?
Sometimes you get an A, okay. Sometimes you get a B. Sometimes you get a C. Sometimes you get a D. Yesterday, you got an F because you didn't even read out of the text.
Through. No,
you never even used.
I was struggling.
You never even used the textbook yesterday. You never even opened up the book.
I had the textbook in my hand, but what I had been working with all night is what I was talking about.
Let me ask you a question. You came into my class. This is my classroom, okay? I'm the teacher, right? I'm the overseer of all the teachers, right? So you came into my classroom. Did you contact me in advance of the class and let me know that you would like to and you wanted to ask permission? And by the way, you have asked permission on occasions.
Yeah, I do.
Can I talk about something else? Can I do? And most of the time I've said yes.
I wasn't doing something else. It was what I read in the book.
No, you were talking about some church that you went to, and then you started going to the Garden of Eden, and then you started talking about eating. I didn't know what the heck you were talking about. It was like, what is this? It was not sound doctrine.
I need to know what he's giving me for. I should have probably just wrote it. And then
don't blame it on Yah. Yah would not have given you that confusion because he's not the author.
I should have wrote it and shared it later. That's what I did. I don't always get it right. I know that.
So you really believe you were doing Rick Warren's Purpose-Driven Life, a book that I've read probably while I was in jail for one of my longest stints in jail. I probably read that book and then taught the book to the other inmates that were in my cell. I probably read that book about 35 times, and then I taught it to probably 50 guys. You're going to tell me that you were actually doing a lesson from a book that I think I have a pretty strong command on.
I wasn't trying to be the book. I was using.
You were? Well, that was your assignment. That's what you're in school to do, is give a book report. Yeah, you're supposed to be giving a book report every day. I told you one paragraph, 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, whatever you can get, a message out of at a time. I gave you the liberty to kind of pick, because sometimes the paragraphs are long, sometimes they give a lot of scripture for you to pass on to Yasser to read. So I gave you the liberty, but I said you need to wrap it up between 7 to 12 minutes, and I did that on purpose because I let you freestyle on this radio line for 9 years. And this past year, that's the change. You're not in a freestyle anymore.
Okay.
You don't get to do that no more.
I'm not learning because I was sharing some deep stuff that Yah was showing me.
Yeah, I think. Well, if it was deep stuff that Yah is showing you, I didn't get anything from it. And I talked to Yasser. Yasser didn't get anything from it. I talked to Sam. She said, I don't know what she was talking about. So if I got 3 ministers that are well learned in the scriptures, that are maturing in the faith, that are filled with the Ruach, that are all fasting right now, and we have a discussion of what the heck was that? I mean, why do you think I cut you off with music?
I figured I went too long. It was time.
Well, you did go too long. That was the other side of it. So we got a bunch of parameters here.
I couldn't get it out what I saw. I couldn't completely express it correctly, and I realized I was failing, so I should have just shut up.
Well, yeah, Scribe has done that from time to time. He says I'm not feeling it. I don't know what to say, and he submits the microphone back. I would rather have you start doing that than open up your mouth and fly all over the place and confuse people that come on our radio broadcast.
That's what's happening. That's what's happening.
I don't want. I mean, you realize we're accountable for Yauli, right now. She's leaving a denomination that didn't have the Ruach.
Right.
She did not feel the Ruach. And now you're trying to tell her how Ruach-filled you are, and she happens to think you are. And so do I. But I believe that there's a fighting spirit of rebellion and a bunch of other evil spirits that are fighting against your Ruach, and you're missing a lot of things when you weigh the Ruach said, but then when it comes out of your mouth what you say that the Ruach said, it doesn't even line up with the Emet. Well, if it doesn't line up with the Emet, then the Ruach would have never said it. You need to understand that. The Ruach will never tell you something that is not scriptural.
I agree.
If it's not in the book, we don't believe it. We don't teach it, and I just do not want it.
And I said when I was saying what I said, which anything that has confusion and it means the devil's in there trying to have it not work. I get scriptures. I remember scriptures when I get the pictures, and I got that, but I didn't know how to express it in with my words. So maybe I'm not supposed to sometimes. Just set that aside, and that thought came to me to just go ahead and deal with the book, and later take time and say, yeah, let's reason together on this and get it straightened out. I know what I'm seeing is beautiful, but I don't know how to bring it into the flesh world. So I am apologizing, and I'm thank you for bringing this up, because the same Ruach that's in me is in you. It's not, we're not enemies. We're all of us. We're all connected. I'm failing to communicate some beautiful stuff that I'm getting in the Ruach, but maybe it's not time for me to share them, and maybe
There you go. Bing, ding, 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 ding. I was taught as a Navi a long time ago that my leaders told me, I'm not questioning whether you got something as a vision or as a seer, but just because you got something doesn't mean I'm going to give you the microphone and it's your timing right now to share it. You have to pray on that. You have to sometimes write it down and ask in your prayers, when does this need to be released to the body? And that was hard for me, because I was getting visions that were so advanced from where the people were in the congregation. They weren't ready to hear what I had to say. They just weren't. Most of them were eating baby food. And I'm sitting here with, meat and potatoes and ready to rock and roll. And he was giving me a lot in the Ruach. But that bishop knew he had the wisdom to say, no, you can't share that here. They're not ready for that. You can share it with me in private. That's what he would tell me. So I'm gonna just kind of say that to you. I've been counseling you more over the last year than throughout our entire time probably, and you probably really, really need to do that consistently, and not do that as you already know, but do that as I want to know. I need to know. I need to talk to someone else who's very filled with Ruach, but is also filled with knowledge, is filled with understanding, is filled with an action and a doer and an experience, and that's turned into a bunch of failures and a bunch of wins. But out of all of that, you're very wise, Rock, and I want to tap into that. A man of many counselors is wise in his ways. And you don't counsel with brand new people. You're wearing your